Hi guys, and welcome to this video today on dot plots and stem and leaf plots. It's really not that long a video and hopefully you'll find it really useful. It's sort of dipping the toe in the water, if you will. It gets much bigger in later exercises and in fact later years where you have to do statistical analysis. My name is Darren, MaffsGuru. It's really good to see you. If you haven't already done so, do me a favor, head to YouTube and just subscribe in my channel. Yes, /MaffsGuru. Why? Never going to be rich, certainly never going to be famous, but it just shows me you're watching, and that sounds very needy, but it's important to me to know that I'm sitting here in the middle of the night recording these things and people are actually watching them and enjoying them. Give me a comment, give me some feedback, that'd be greatly appreciated. MaffsGuru.com is also there for you, free to sign up, where all the videos are organized by textbook, time codes, what else have they got, downloadable notes, exam questions. Really, I am busting my butt trying to get you guys to understand maths in the most enjoyable and helpful way. All right, so head over there. What are we doing today? Well, the learning objectives basically say, let's find out what a dot plot is. I'm sure you already know this. Understand what a stem and leaf plot is. They're freaking awesome. Understand how to create and read a stem and leaf plot and know when to use a dot plot and when to use a stem and leaf plot. Now again, in a previous video, we looked at how to draw a histogram. And funny enough, one of the first things your calculator did when you actually put the data in and then you put a graph in and then you clicked marks, don't know what I'm talking about? Watch the previous video, it's awesome. So this was the screenshot here. What did we find out? Well, actually, we got a dot plot. It is a plot, or is made up of dots. And those dots show us a pattern, they show us a distribution. All of these words will mean something as we go on, yeah? But basically, they're just a way of describing or putting on data. Nothing more, nothing less. So I think these are freaking awesome. They are so cool and they are so easy to draw. It's almost embarrassing. And yes, I'm going to show you how to draw a dot plot. Most of this comes down to knowing the pattern and the sequence and the systems that you're going to use. So when you have a dot plot, you're literally drawing a horizontal line. You're putting the numbers underneath it. Don't forget your scale or your units or whatever this label is, because if you don't put it down, it's going to make no sense and your chances are you're going to lose marks. And then you look at your data. Now in this situation, I've gone through and I've seen, well, hold on, my lowest data item is 4. So I'm going to start my number line, as it were, at 4. My highest data item seems to be 9, and so I'm going to end it at 9. Sometimes people add 1 and subtract 1 from either side. It's fine, it's no big deal. And I'm, funnily enough, just going to go through data item by data item. See a 6, put a cross through it, do a dot. See a 9, put a cross through it, do a dot. Remember putting a cross through it just so I don't double count it. 5, dot. 8, dot. 6, I've obviously already got one there, so I'm going to put a dot above. 4, dot. 6, another dot. Whoa. 7, dot. 6, dot. 5. Now what you notice is I'm actually lining my dots up both vertically and horizontally. It just makes it easier to look at the shape. And believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, I will bow. There is a dot plot. Yo, yo, yo. And there we go. That's what it is. Now, why are dot plots important for us? Because they help us describe data. They sort of help us with some important terms that we're going to use a bit later on. So we can see the highest value. Now, you're probably going to turn around and say, well, hold on a minute, mate. We knew what the highest value was. We could see it from the data. Yes, you could. From this very small amount of data, it was very easy to see what the highest value is. But what if you add 100 pieces of data? Might not always be immediately obvious, and so dot plots help us do this. But again, lowest value, highest value. Now the range, if you remember what the range is, it's the highest value take away the lowest value, so it's the difference between those two values. And one of the most important ones that we really like is something called the median. Yeah, now they're coming in a later video, but just realize that when you draw a dot plot, you're doing it for a reason. All right, now we get more funky. Yeah, now dot plots, we're done, whatever. Stem and leaf plots are amazing because they're a way of expressing data using a stem and a leaf. Makes no sense, yeah? Well, the first thing is we're going to display the form in the form of an, now that should be unordered stem and leaf plot. I'll explain in a moment what an ordered one is, well, probably fairly obvious. Now again, what you tend to do here is you find your lowest data item, let's say it's 2, and my highest data item seems to be 45. Do we go any higher than 45? 45, he says, looking through. It doesn't matter if there's more, I can add them later. Now what we do now is we draw a line and we split these up using effectively place value. I'm going to have tens and I'm going to have units. And the tens for this moment are going to go on the left-hand side of the line. So I'm going to start with 0. I'll explain that in a moment. 10, 20, 30, and 40. Our numbers don't go any higher than 40 something, so that's where I'm going to go. On the other side of the line go the units. So, for example, this is 15, that becomes 1, and I simply put a 5 there. Ka-ching. I've got a 2. Now, that's got no tens, but 2 units. 24, 2, and 4. Now, do you notice how it's even looking like 24 when I write them side by side? It won't when I add more data items. But effectively, 30, what do we do? 3 and a 0 for 30. 25, 2, and now in this situation, I just put a 5 here. Now, I know that looks like 245, but when you watch these tables or when you start to use them, you'll start to go, okay, I know that that's a 10 and the 5 is the unit. 19 becomes 1 and 9. Now again, when you do these, try and write the numbers in vertical lines so they're level with each other. Leave a little bit of space, don't make it too small. Size is important. Yes, 24, 2 and a 4. Now do you notice what's happening here? They are unordered. The reason it's unordered because I'm going through this, oh, there was a 60. Now notice what I can do now is add a 5 and a 0 and I can put 60 there. 42, 4 and 2, 35, 3 and 5, another 35, 3 and 5. Now I could continue, but I'm going to stop because later on I'm going to show you the completed one. When you finish this, you must make sure you write a key. Now, why do you write a key? I'll explain now. So I'm going to say key, and what you do is you say 1 line 5 equals 15. Okay, so you're going to say, well, hold on a minute, that seems to state the flipping obvious. Why have you written 15? Well, decimal numbers can also be expressed using a stem and leaf diagram. So for example, if I had the numbers 1.5, 2.3, 6.4, actually they get represented in this situation with the number before the decimal point goes here, and the number after the decimal point goes on the other side of the line. Now again, in that situation, you wouldn't want to be reading this value here as 15. So when you write your key, you do the 1/line equals 1.5. That's effectively telling you and the rest of the world who's looking at your stem and leaf diagram, oh, hold on a moment, I'm dealing with decimals in this situation. Make sense? All right, so here we go. So having got the unordered stem and leaf diagram, what I now do is I take each of these rows, let's deal with that one there, and I write the 4, and the 5, and any other data item in order. And so what you notice here is, oh, no, that's annoying because they've actually, that's the unordered one. Oh, what am I doing? That's the unordered one. So anyway, this is the one that's finished. Life is good. Yes, this is the unordered one. We notice that the lines are all beautiful. The columns are all beautiful. Life is good. Yes, tick, 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 tick. But we now need to put them in order. And there we go. That's our ordered stem and leaf diagram. Yes, we notice that we've got the 0 and the 2. This now is ordered. So 0, 4, 4, 5, 5, 8, 8, 8. Why is that important to me? Well, again, we use this to answer questions, highest value, lowest value, middle value, and later on something called the interquartile range. What did he say? Interquartile range? Oh, yes. Don't worry about it. It's coming. Just one step at a time, grasshopper. Okay, so what else is it important to know about? Well, again, these things show us where there are loners in maths. Oh, sorry. Yes, loners are those outliers. We actually give them a proper name in maths, not loners, because that's a bit embarrassing. But we call them outliers, data items that seem separate from the rest of the data. And part of statistics is identifying outliers as well. Again, more on that's coming up. The last part of this video is knowing when to use a dot plot versus a stem and leaf plot. When do you use it? Which is the best one? Right. Well, basically, looking at the table that's provided here, cut it out, put it in your study book, is a dot plot is used when there's small data sets, yes? So, for example, when there's less than 30 numbers, that sort of makes sense with discrete data. We don't want to keep doing like 500 dots. That's just nuts. Why would we do that? Stupid, yeah? How is it usually constructed by hand or with technology? Right, so we know that our calculator can do a dot plot. A stem plot is for small data sets, say less than 50. Yeah, so again, we've got more flexibility with a stem plot. Yes, we can do maybe less than 50 data. Stem plots calculator can't do them. Sorry guys, it's by hand only. In a histogram, we tend to use a histogram with large data sets. Yes, say for example when n is greater than 30, but again, your calculator can do histograms. And that's the end of this video. Thanks very much for watching, guys. It has been an honor here. Hopefully you've learned something. Head over to YouTube and subscribe if you can. Again, just shows me that you're watching. Nothing more, nothing less. If you don't want to get notifications, turn off the notifications. It's just nice to know. And MaffsGuru.com, again, for videos and exam questions and notes and all those type of things. But I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to record another video now. But you take care. Stay safe, yeah? This is MaffsGuru signing off. Take care. Bye-bye.